So next segment is the companion segment to NX Das Hype, which is, of course, whenever we hear some Nintendo news that is in a positive light for NX, we try to put it under the Das Hype banner.
Yep.
This is NX de Bullen Scheisse, which...
Well, I'm learning so much
away.
German on this show.
We are. Get your kids out of the room because it's not a nice thing to say. But this week was a weird week for just NX in general. Because apparently, I'm going to try and run this down as quickly and as succinctly as I can, I promise. Mitsubishi UFJ Morgan Stanley basically issued a report written by a business analyst that was supposed to sort of look at Nintendo's business and forecast. You know, it's a summary. This is not an uncommon practice. This was written in Japanese. But there was a line in that report that said, the driving force up until now has been new businesses, obviously speaking for Nintendo, such as health services, theme parks, and mobile games, but they'll switch over to a next-generation system, NX, and a next-gen handheld device called MH. Went the internet, and everyone was like, well, where did that come from, and what are you talking about?
MH.
Well, most folks didn't realize that this was speculation on the
My
part of the
handheld.
analyst. Yeah, it was like...
My handheld.
My handheld. All right, we can make that work.
Sure, there it is.
And the NX is just not Xbox.
Yeah, there you go. So basically, this was the weirdest thing to wake up to because for the past year, Nintendo has been saying NX exists, right? We know since when that happened, it was that smartphone deal. Basically, the announcement, they decided to come out and say, we have our next thing in the works. This is the code name, and that is all. Yeah. So when folks saw MH, they're just like, well, what is this and isn't real? We're here to tell you on this segment that apparently it's not. And this was cleared up by good friend of the show and always the man to talk to on Twitter for Japanese consultancy stuff, Dr. Serkan Toto, who basically tweeted that the analyst was picturing a scenario. And he does not define what MH means in the report, but is rather just saying this could happen, not that this is or based on any fact. And so people got crazy over this.
I mean, it seems like the whole report is a prediction. But MH is so specific.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that seems very weird to be like, I have a prediction with a fake code name and everything, too.
My handheld.
I mean, the thing, it's not, continuing their portable business doesn't sound insane, you know?
No.
I think, dedicated handhelds overall are fading fast, I think, and especially as Nintendo themselves are getting into the mobile business. Maybe it's a little weird to consider a next-gen handheld, but also, it's not like the 3DS is going to be around forever.
I mean, what does next-gen handheld even mean?
I know.
Really?
The Nintendo 4DS. I don't know. I mean, I guess
if you compare, the DS to the new 3DS, that's a different generation, but it was so incremental that it's hard to draw a line.
If you walked by two kids playing both of those systems, first of all, you'd be like, why is one of you so much luckier than the other?
Yeah.
But secondly, you'd be like, these look like the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, from a distance, especially the DS XL.
Yeah.
Versus the 3DS XL or the new 3DS XL look like the same things from the outside looking in.
Yeah, like the DSi versus the...
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, that's what's weird is the Game Boy, GBA to DS, even in terms of graphically, you were going from Super Nintendo ports to N64 ports. You know, that became... So I guess if they're really... I mean, just thinking graphically, I guess if it's if they want to step it up one further and maybe even make it, I don't know, scaled down GameCube ports or something, I guess you can see a place for that, but I don't know that that's what people want anymore. You know, that's the weird thing to me is as they're finally embracing mobile, it's really interesting if they are even considering that right now, because you would think they should focus on their console business. 3DS is doing fine.
But with each handheld that Nintendo puts out, they have at least sort of set this practice where, hey, this game that was a console game is now on this portable. And we saw that with Zelda, Ocarina of Time 3D. We saw that with Majora's Mask 3D as well. You can say that new 3DS pushed the boundary line a little further because you got Xenoblade Chronicles, which was a Wii game that showed up on that system. And when you jump back through the generations, it changes, right? On DS, it was Super Mario 64, DS. That's what they called it, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was some ridiculous name. And then there was before that, you were looking at like Super Nintendo or even NES games, which whatever. I mean, anyone's cell phone can emulate that game now. It almost feels, but
only the new 3DS can play Earthbound.
Yeah, but this has always been a boundary line that they've been kind of playing with, and so regardless, I think though that just calling it a next generation system just refers to the generation itself, and not necessarily like whenever I hear next gen 2, I jump to the conclusion, oh, it must be the greatest graphics of like all time. I think it's just being trained from like the 90s and like 2000 in magazines.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe it literally means generation, as in a group of people born in a certain generation.
Yes. Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about it that way.
So, I mean, I totally agree with all that. I also feel that we're kind of at the end of the DS lineage here. Like, I think not only in terms of what they've done with the entire line and the ideas that they can pull out of it, but also sort of the market impact that a system like that has. I think right now, and you kind of alluded to this, Andrew, like you're at a point in time where it's first of all, this could be the last handheld ever made.
I really don't want that.
I don't either. I love handheld gaming.
My mobile, because I have to use it for everything,
right.
And the same applies for everyone else, it runs out of battery really quickly.
Yes.
You use it for so many things all the time and have so many apps open that, you don't have the luxury of your 3DS asking you, do you want to close this previous software so your battery life lasts for a really long time?
Yeah. And something you're hitting at there too that's very important is that you are completely unfocused when you're handheld gaming on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Because
you get notifications.
Yeah, like you're on a text chain or something and all these texts start coming in, or I get an email or something like that and my phone buzzes and I'm like, what's this? Your internet's there, your work is there, everything's there. On a 3DS, like I started playing, I've been flying back and forth across the country to spend time with family. I started playing Animal Crossing again because I think we were talking about it on the show. And I'm like, I really miss this game because it's peaceful, it's calm, it scales with how much
comforting.
It is. And it scales with how much I want to put into it. Like I can go in for 5 minutes, shake some trees, make some money, check out what's going on in Tom Nook's hood.
Take out some weeds.
Yeah. Take out and sell some weeds, and then get back out there and leave. Or I could like go to the island and go fishing for an hour and a half. And Nintendo, like I've noticed with Miitomo, has a very hard cap on how much time I can put into that game.
Yeah.
I'll maybe spend 6-7 minutes in it. If I poke around every corner of it, I'm pretty much done.
Change your outfit, listen to 10 answers.
So I think there's still room for handheld in the traditional sense. But still in a way that's smart enough to compete with smartphones, because a lot of kids now just get hand-me-down smartphones and those become their games. Yeah. But still, there's so many things that can happen when you hand a kid a phone like that. He can get on the internet. He can ring up all these credit card charges. All these different things can happen. So I think whatever they do next has to be very smart. They do not have to worry about any competition coming from the Sony side. It's pretty safe to say that they'll never come. I don't think there'll be another video game company in the world that comes at their throat again.
So
I think you're probably right.
consumer-wise, of course, Vita sales-wise isn't going to hurt 3DS.
Yeah.
What I would like to see from them is that idea that I can buy a PS4 game and it's immediately cross-play on my Vita. Like, if they are doing MH, if they are thinking handheld, I hope they're also thinking back and forth. I hope they're thinking of letting it speak to NX.
But they won't. And do you know why? Because what did you just buy on your 3DS recently?
Super Nintendo games that
you
already owned.
Sure.
Yeah.
What did I buy last night? Link to the Past.
No, and they definitely got to get their act together there, right? Like we've been asking for that. I mean, everyone's been asking for that forever.
But
right?
I'm not even saying, dude. I'm not even saying I'm not even saying money wise. Like,
Yeah.
I'll buy it twice. Just let my save transfer back and forth. Is more what I mean.
I can see that happening.
Yeah. No, that I understand a lot. But I mean, we've been complaining about it on this show for years. But how do I complain? I throw my wallet at them every 6 months.
Yeah, but with the gamepad, I feel like almost segued that. Like, even though it's still part of the same console, someone else is watching TV while you're playing something. It feels separate from the TV.
It does.
Feels like that. So it's like the gamepad, theoretically, in very specific circumstances, feels like a handheld.
It is. Yeah. And I like that. I like that.
I love that.
I played a lot.
Great. I wish every console had that.
I played a lot of like multi-platform games, or the multi-platform games that came to Wii U. I played on that because it was just like we only had one TV in the house at the time, and somebody else could use it.
You can walk around with it.
Yeah,
you can play it on a plane if you plug it into a power supply.
I've almost done this. I have not. I've decided to play. Yeah, I've thought about it. I do want to push back a little on the idea though that Nintendo would be done with dedicated handheld devices. Only because their biggest successes as a company have come through
handheld.
3DS or DS.
Sure.
and the franchises specifically, right? Pokemon will always be as a mobile, and I know people want it on console, and I get it, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that shouldn't exist, but a mobile Pokemon game will always be a thing that will drive Nintendo product. Mario Kart has been super successful as well. Smash Brothers for the first time. That had never happened before, and you can make some complaints that it wasn't a perfect transition, but it was a good enough, if not a great transition, for that. Animal Crossing, then you have third parties like Monster Hunter, which is the biggest feather, at least in their cap in Japan, because Monster Hunter just sells and sells and sells and sells, and then it keeps selling for some reason.
It's a really good thing to play on handheld.
I love all those games. I played every single one of them. I will ride or die for handhelds until they're gone. The 3DS is if you look at the sales between the last 5 or 6 Nintendo handhelds or handheld gaming in general, it's been in a serious decline.
I mean, they bring out way too many. Let's be honest. There's so many.
It went from 150 million on DS, right, to basically 50 million on your 3DS, which is totally a sign of the market, right, where everyone went mobile.
I think they can squeeze another 4 or 5 million out too.
And to their credit, sorry, I just want to get this last point in, is that Sony and Nintendo went at it again this round, and Nintendo stuck with it and was able to turn it around and make it a success. Whereas Sony's answer to, well, Vita's not doing so hot, is, well, let's just throw all our attention to PlayStation 4 and whatever VR, we can put over to it, and VR, but whatever we can get on here through cross-buy, we'll just toss it over there, and that's it.
I feel like that to me is the big, like, aside from the health of handhelds, which is obviously a huge conversation to have separate from that, like, I just think Nintendo should, like, obviously NX should be their priority. Because 3DS, whether handhelds die or not, for the time being, it's fine. Wii U has had its struggles. Like, it's the reason this surprised me, seeing MH come out, even as being something considered or theorized,
speculated,
is that, like, their problem right now is their console business, right? The handheld, regardless of the life of handhelds 5-10 years from now, like, right now 3DS is fine for another year. Like, don't even worry about MH, guys. Like, focus on NX. Like, that's why this is surprising to me, because, like, the fact that people would even speculate they'd be putting R&D into a handheld, like, I would think they're putting all hands on deck.
Well, we don't know if NX includes plans for a handheld. That's the other side of this thing, where there have been rumors and speculation saying, hey, this can be 2 devices or 2 devices that will eventually play the same games. Whether or not we're seeing that at this launch in March 2017 remains to be seen. But there's just so much what if, but I just feel like this was another example of, we're kind of desperate to hear anything right now. And so this blew up. We screwed up. We reported it. Then we quickly were able to also put in there, look, this is not 100%. This appears to, it's unclear what this means. And, a lot of what it meant got lost in translation, which is unfortunate. So we will obviously try to do better. But regardless, NX Die Bullen Scheisse continues, and we'll wrap it at least there. Anytime we need to kind of shoot down something, we'll do it under that label.